Hello, this is founder Laerun with Fantasy Grounds Academy. Today I'm going to work on a module that I've been picking at for over a year. It's going to be called the Oracle of Three. It's basically based on the number of three, but it also has a lot of different synchronicities that are based off the magic number of three. I don't know if you've realized this, but a lot of things are based on that pattern or that number, which is really strange, but was part of the inspiration for this. The other thing is this is a high fantasy make-believe type campaign, or in this case, it's an adventure. I don't plan on making a whole campaign out of it at this point. If it's successful, I will look at maybe possibly doing a Kickstarter on it. But for right now, I'm just going to work on it and test it and get things put into Fantasy Grounds at the moment. So first things first, I've already imported the images. They are in a group called the Oracle of Three. And what these are different images that are going to be used throughout the campaign. So for instance, I have this Npc photo, and this can be used to show people, or it can be used for decorations, whatever you want. But I'm going to put NPC in parentheses, or excuse me, as the lead of this. So NPC, comma, Baldwin the Bold, and this is a bordered image, so that's what I put it there as. Put the NPC in front of there so it reshuffles and it puts it in a better order. And I notice I'm missing a space, so I want to make sure I got the space in there. There we go. Is that right? Yep, looks like it. So I'm going to do a little bit of line of sight. I'm going to take my time a little bit more since I'm going to potentially use this commercially. So what I'm going to do is put some line of sight on one of the maps and see how that goes. Been practicing a little bit here and there, but got to keep on it, because if you quit using it for a while and then you go back to it, you get kind of rusty. So I want to try to work that out. So I have a bunch of different maps. I think I'm going to start with probably the first map that is going to be shared with the group. And that's going to be a regional map. So this region is called Upriver, which is basically, it's not a very unique name, but that's the name of the area. And the town's called Upriver. The town has a history. At one point, this town used to just be a small trading post, and it was kind of like a crossroads where people would come and go. What was happening is he had this large trade road on the side. So let me expand this map. So first thing you want to do with any map, stretch it out, see it, and size it accordingly. And then to zoom it in, you can right click on it, go to view, and then zoom to fill. That'll fill up the whole screen. I don't really need to do that. Then what I'm going to do here is just kind of put a few embellishments on it. I'm not going to get any too fancy with it because it's a regional map, so it doesn't need to be too crazy or too elaborate. So I want to zoom to fit. Okay, so this is the town of Upriver. It's founded by a gentleman named Kedwick. Is his last name. He's a human. Kedwick was a trader, trapper kind of guy who explored the region. At that time, there wasn't a whole lot of settlement here, and it was right on the border of the Wildwood, which is a really, should I say, dominant forest that had been slowly taken over by the Fae Wild, basically. It's kind of a magical forest. Nonetheless, over time, the settlement grew. Bridge was built. Before, it was just a log over the river, but as the town grew, they built this bridge, and they used the help of the Dragon Jaw dwarves who lived in the Dragon Jaw Mountains. They're a clan of dwarves, mountain dwarves, that live in the mountains. They started to trade with them, And a long time ago, the dragons of this area were defeated, or there was one dragon that was defeated by the Dragon Jaw clan. And I think it was a blue dragon. I haven't decided yet, but it was slain out here in these hills. They took its skull and they brought it back to their lair, and now it's basically part of their culture, and they're very proud of that. So, anyways, they have a trading post here in town. They trade minerals and gold and things like that, steel, and they have all the raw materials basically. There is a mill that was turned into it was like a flour mill. It's turned into a inn and restaurants for the Riverside Inn. They still bake and grind flour here, but it's multi-purpose now, so it's more profitable. They have some rooms, they have a restaurant, and they have this bread and pastry making, so they're pretty popular. It's probably the main place to stay. And this is Kedwick Crossing, named after the founder of the city. There's some apple orchards and fruit trees behind the town that has sustained the town with some crops and some income. So what happens is every year there's a meetup, and this crossroads area, a lot of vendors and merchants and caravans come through here, and they'll stop into the town and they'll pick up produce and trade with them basically. That happens at least once or twice a year. So that's kind of what's going on with the town. So what I was going to do is put a little bit of line of sight on this. It doesn't need a lot because it's basically just a regional map, but I do want to incorporate some of the line of sight in here, kind of embellish the map, make it more interesting. So I'm going to take and go to the grid, which is the first thing I'm going to do. Thinking about putting in some hexagons for more like a hex crawl type thing. And I was going to say that, maybe an area about the size of this field is less than a mile. So maybe that's a half a mile or something like that. So I'm going to go to the grid area, and that's where I'm at in the map tools. And then I'm going to drop down and use the hex grid, which is grid type. And then I'm going to turn it on. And I think that looks pretty close to the size I want, but that's for 5 feet. So I think distance multiplier, let's see, this is feet. So I think the distance modifier is going to be greater than 5. So each square is going to be a certain amount of feet. So maybe 100 feet or more, or I don't know. But basically that's where you would set the scale. I mean, that's not going to be 5 feet. It's definitely got to be like 50 or something. So I'll change that for now. So 50 feet. Actually, I'll go with 100. That's a nice even. And then each one of these represents that. So now what I'm going to do is change the color, because I don't care for this gray kind of washed out look. So I'm going to go to the tint. I'm going to pick a color that's sort of like the background. So you can use the eyedropper, kind of hover over the land and decide which kind of color you want. So I'm going to use probably this brownish color. That's a light gray, kind of like a beige color. And I can turn it down a little bit. And that's nice. It's nice on the eyes. It's not too heavy, but it's still visible. So that's what I'm looking at. That's pretty nice. I like that. Now I'm going to put a mask on it just to give it some kind of way to show day and night. So I'm going to lock that layer. So once you set your grid, you want to lock the layer. It's important to have that locked in case so you don't accident. There's some key locations here. We have the town, upriver. We have the dam, which I don't really have a good name for. It's not going to be the Kedwick Dam, but it was created by the humans and dwarves. They worked on it together. But I did say it's the dam, but I don't know. Name it that, but that's what it is for now. And over here is the Rangers camp, which is where the first settlers took lumber out of here, build a town. But once they realized what they were doing, told not to harvest the forest anymore without cooperation, basically. So this is an abandoned logging camp. It became like a ranger's camp, like a way station for people that want to explore the forest or that live off the land. They would come here as a refuge. But over the years, it's basically neglected. It's dilapidated. It's kind of not really useful anymore. And then, of course, we have these colonies of ants to the south, of the major cultures that lives here, the ant folk. We have this natural crossing here that was created by a large tree that fell. The image is a little exaggerated, but it is a very large tree. It's almost the size of a redwood. And then up here, we have the hive, or the bee folk. And then this little fey clearing here is an encountered area where the party members will meet an interesting NPC. So the river that cuts through here is called the Azure Emerald River. So it starts off this light, kind of beautiful, bright blue, and then it starts to change green as it enters the forest. That's why it's the Azure Emerald. Over here are some rolling hills and grasslands. Not too much going on out here. It's actually a lot of wasted space, but this is the grounds where the annual meetup is for trading and such. And then people go in and out of town to sample the wares, sell fruit here, and all kinds of things that were created. And then the dwarves also bring their wares. So it's kind of a nice little, annual thing that happens beginning and then the end of summer. Little copses of trees around that are either fruit trees or overgrown groves. So there's a lot of areas to take a look at here, and then you have the mountains where the Dragonjaw clan lives. So mountain dwarfs. So forest is basically overgrown. There's giant mushrooms in here. It's almost got the Alice in Wonderland quality to it. So I was going to make a party token so that when the party members are traveling on this overland map, they can mark where they're at, basically the progress. So I'm going to go to the map tools and I'm going to do some things here. So I'm going to go to the line of sight. I'm not really going to put any line of sight per se on here, but what I will do is potentially some lighting itself. So I'm going to go to the lighting tool. I want to just add some lights. And they're going to be themed. So I'm going to take and put kind of a orangish light and a purple light and some kind of other stuff. So down here where the ant colony is, pick a color that's for them. So it's probably going to be like a purplish color, so it will stand out. So the behavior is basically there's no pulse or flicker or anything for the time being, but I'm going to go ahead and stick a light there. So I'm just going to do torch or a preset, and then I'm going to change the color to like this purplish color, a little bit darker. So there we go. And turn it down a little bit. Okay. And now preset was a torch. Yep. Make sure I got this correct. All right. So there's that. Now I'm going to click on here and see what happens. So adding a light, it's purple. There we go. So that's going to be basically this is going to be the ant colony. This is the layer of the antagonist, where the main bad guy or bad woman is. So we're going to add a red light here. So I'm going to change the color to like a reddish color and turn that down just a little bit. Kind of a blood red color. Down, OK, and click there. So there's the, see, I didn't do that right. So I'm going to go over here and delete that. I want to change that to purple. So I don't know why it's inheriting that red. So I don't want that, but I'll come back to it. So let me come see if I can add one in this area. This is going to be a light. Just click here and I'll start another layer. That's what I'll do. So what I'm going to call this is going to be this is the spider layer. I'll just call it spider lights. That way I have an idea of what it is. And now to make a new layer, just click away from that. I'll just lock that for now so it doesn't get tampered with. Okay, this little grove here, I think that's going to be like a bright yellow or a green, but I also want green for the Rangers camp, so probably a yellowish color. So make a new layer. I'm going to go to the lighting tools, change this to my yellow of choice. Kind of want a brighter, kind of almost an orangish yellow, not white. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to go with a kind of a light blue because yellow is going to be for the bees. So that's what I'll use this color instead. Kind of a teal green kind of color. Okay. And now I'm going to click in this little grove here. And that should be the light that I'm looking for. So there's that. So in order to test these out, what I'm going to do is lock this, go to play mode, enable the lighting. Yeah, see there's the green here, and here's the red down here. So since I set the scale so far out, I might have to change the actual range of this light. And then the other thing is, that's the player view. So if I want to enable the DM view, I can do that. And you can see this little light here. And the reason it's so small is because I put a large scale on these. So what I need to do is go in and edit the lighting range. So I just want it to kind of come outside here around the area. I don't want it to go too far out. So what I'm going to do is go back to the lighting. Here's the spider lights. I don't even know if that should be called spider lights, but let's see. So I'm going to unlock it and then go back to the lighting tool, go back to the lights, which is what I'm on. Click on this with the pointer or the selection tool. Now what I'm going to do is change the range here. Probably, let's see, for bright light, I'm going to go with 150. And for the fall off, I'm going to go for, let's see, 200. And for the dim light, 250. And then for the fall off for that, probably 300. So we want 1 second. So 100, 150. Maybe that's the maximum. See, the dim light we want, we'll say 125. And then 200 for that. And I think it is 100 is the maximum range. So I think what I'll do is for the brightness, I'll go with 75. And then for the fall off, it'll be 100. And for the dim light, 125. And then this one would be 150. Let's see if it'll take that. Nope. So let me go 120 on that, 125 on this one. Nope, it's not letting me do that. So that's fine. So anyways, that's how you change those if you want to do it. So I'm not too worried because it's just a lighting thing. So let me go back into play mode and see what this looks like. Yeah, see, it's a bigger area now, so it's good. Okay, so that's basically how you put lights on these, is select different lighting colors and then place them. And that's how you get those. So these are just like little landmarks, basically. And as we explore the map, you could share different zones and different areas. It's kind of cool. The players can see part of it. So what I'll do is I'll set a token that has token light or some sort of light source. So when they're traveling, they can see only, maybe a couple hundred miles around the most, or a couple hundred feet, I should say. So I'll have to work that out. But basically, that's how I'm going to handle that part of it. But for the time being, I'm going to go ahead and turn off this line of sight for right now. Don't need it on. And as a matter of fact, for the lighting, for the ambient light, I'm going to turn that on. I'm going to put a mask on it and just put a mask around just this area. So only these spots are affected. Now when I go back to the test mode, it's going to show basically that until, if I put a character on there, it will show the darkness. It'll be kind of like this. So I have the spider layer, I have this. Now I'm going to go put so that's 75. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing with this green area. So I'm going to take that and there we go. So I'm going to move that off to the side a little bit, just on the corner. Yeah, so that's basically what you're getting here. So I want to maybe put it on this moth or butterfly. Go with 100. And then we said 120 to 125 and so it kind of fades it out. I kind of like that. So that's the maximum for it. It's kind of cool, actually. Now I'm going to take the pointer tool and point to this one. So this one's 75. So I want to increase that to 100, like I have with the other one. This one's 125. This one's 120. All right, so let me double check the other one, make sure. So I have to come up with some sort of standard here. This one's 1, 1, 125, 0. Okay, so yep, that's how I have this one too. That works. All right, so let's see what we have here. So now I'm going to make another token light. So I'm going to lock that and lock the spider lights. I'm going to rename this as the moth lights, I guess. Let's see. Spider lights, I'll call this the moth lights. That's basically who's hanging out there. That way when I play this or run this, I can add that into the play notes. Ambient light mask, that's separate. That's the outdoor. Okay, so the ants, I was going to make like a purplish color. So go there and change the color to this purplish kind of colored. A little bit darker. Turn that down. Hit OK, and then click on the nest. There we go. So let's set this one up. So that's 100, 100. So this must be the maximum, 125 for the dimness, and then 100 for the fall off. So we'll see what that looks like when I shut off this. So this is, oops, oh no, let me delete that. I did not want to put that on that layer. Okay, so click away from that, and now I'm going to click on the map again with the lighting tool. And click. There we go. There's the purple I was looking for. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to selection tool and just kind of highlight that area there. So these are just highlighted areas. These are the main plot points of the game. So let's see what we got here. So we got this purple area. We have this reddish area. Yeah, so we're getting there. So let me go back and look at this because it doesn't look quite right. So when I go back to the lighting tool, it's doing what it's supposed to do, but it looks very, very dim. I think I need to increase the, oh, it's got a flicker to it. That doesn't help. Say none for that. Let's see. So that is actually, okay. So it's about right because you got the purple, this red here. Let's take a look. It might be a little bit too dark. So what I'm going to do is go back and adjust this a little bit. Maybe make it a little bit brighter. So there we go. That's better. So that's the 2 or 3 things there. Now I'm going to turn off this stuff for right now so that I can see what's going on. And I'm going to put the Ranger camp in here. So go back to the lighting tool, change the color. So change it to like a light green, hit OK, and then click on the Ranger camp. Oops, what happened here? Oh, it's because I'm on the lights again. Dang it. So click away, click this lighting tool, change the color to like this kind of light green. Shows up, hit OK, and I'm on the lighting tool and click there. All right, so there's that camp. Not sure why this turned green, but I need to go back and fix that. So probably because it was on the same layer as the other one. So delete that. Let's go back to the spider lights, change that back to red. And there we go. And now click on that. Let's see what happens. There we go. Yep, now it's starting to come together. So this is kind of a teal blue. This is green. We got red, purple, and now this bees hive thing is going to be a kind of a orangish red kind of thing. So I'm going to click off, make sure I'm not selected on anything because I want this a separate light because I want to turn them on and off during the game as needed. So I want to change the color here to like an orangish yellow. There we go. There's a kind of a yellowish color. Orangish yellow, I guess. And I'll turn the opacity down just a touch. There we go. And whammo. So there's that. So I want to call this the hive lights. Start getting confused what is what. Now what is this? See, this is what I'm saying. You need to label. I'm pretty sure that's the layer for this. Yeah. So I need to label these two. So there's the moth lights is this. Spider lights is this down here. The hive lights, so one of these is the ranger camp. So which one is it? So turn that off. Okay, there it is. So this one is the ranger. So I need to unlock it. And I'm going to put ranger camp. Come on. Okay, so Ranger Camp. Okay, so there's the lights for that, and then I don't remember what this one was for. Let's see, what is this? Okay, so that's the ants. That's kind of what I thought. So unlock it, double click on here, and we'll call this the colony lights, because that's the colony and the hive are the main two areas. Okay, so we have the moth lights, spider lights. Might do one for the town, but I think I'll make that a standard, like, white light kind of thing. So let's see. I'm gonna take and probably put it over the bridge or right in the center of town. So I'm going to change the color now to this almost white color. It's like an off-white. And I go ahead and hit OK. And then click here in the center of the town. Also by the bridge. Let's see. Change the color. Go back to this here. And see, I got it on the colony light, so that's what's going on there. So I need to click away, change the color because I was on the wrong layer again. Okay. And now click on the town. There we go. So the town's got its own light. So we'll call this town lights. Pretty simple. Okay, so town lights. So this is basically, the way that you can organize this. So I'm going to take a folder now. Double click on the folder, and I'm just going to call this map lighting, just so, actually, instead of map lighting, I might put zone lighting, or I'll say layer lighting. That way I know what the heck it is. So I'll know that this folder contains all the unique lighting to each area. So there's the town lights are going to go in that folder, the hive lights, the ranger camp lights, the colony lights, the hive, the moth, spiders, and these two are going to stay out. So the layer lighting is set. So that way it's not a big long list of stuff. So let's go into the line of sight mode and let's see what we got here. So looks like, yeah, so I'm going to check that out. So yeah, here's all the major locations. And this is the map. So that's cool. I like it. So it won't look this crazy when players are on it or we have it viewed. So I'm going to take this player vision off, and that's what I'll see as a GM is that see the light a little bit, but then you'll also see the map. And when I put the player token, or the party token, I should say, on this map, it'll show up more. I think maybe I'll do that. So I'm going to use some of the assets that I already have in the game and make a party token or something. So I'm going to go to the assets folder. And in here is a folder called campaign, which is where I put all the images for this game at. So I'm going to grab the campaign folder, take a look and see what kind of art we have in there. So there's all these different images. So I think I'm going to use this rose compass as the icon for the NPCs I'm going to build, because none of these really reflect the party too well. So I think I'm going to use this as the party token. So I'm going to go to the folder and basically go to the campaign folder. Campaign is called the Oracle of 3. Take that. Fresh. Okay. So the Oracle of 3. I think I call it DnD5e first, so I know which campaign it's in. Yep, that's what I did. And now here's some images. So I can make this into a token, And it's a little big right now. Let's see. File size is not too bad, but let me look at the properties of it. Yeah, it's 1800 by 1800 pixels. That's pretty big. So I think what I'll do is I'll make another version of it. So I'll show you what I'm doing here. I'll switch over to the full screen mode where it shows everything. And I'm going to go and create a token for the party itself. So let's go ahead and do this. So I'm going to go back to Streamlabs and turn on the display capture. See everything. So there's the display capture. And right now I have this. This is the token I'm going to use for the party. So this will represent the whole party. So I'm going to resize, define custom dimensions. See, it's 18 by 1800. That's huge. So what I'll probably do is change it to probably 200 by 200. That's a large size token. Yeah, I think I'll do a 300 by 300. I think that's maximum for dimensions. So that's what I want for the party token. So I'm going to go ahead and hit reset, resized copy. I'm going to call this compass rose underscore TKN, which is the token. And then I'll put 01 in case I want to have a revision on it. And I'm going to go ahead and save that. It's in my downloads folder, so I want to put it in my modules folder so I don't forget what I did with it. Okay, so there's a copy of that. Now I'm going to go back to Fantasy Grounds and bring that in. So if I go to Fantasy Grounds, and right now I don't have it in my assets yet, I just made a copy of this basically. So when you do add something, you want to hit this refresh folder and we'll update this. But I want to go to the tokens folder, and I'm going to open that folder up. And here are the regular tokens for NPCs. But I want to add the token I just made. So I want to go to, let's see, that's the art folder. I want to go to my download folder. And then there is a folder called personal module, which is the one I'm working on. And here's the compass. So I want that. So I'll take the compass one and copy and paste that into this folder here. And this is going to be used for my token for the party. So I want a party token, basically. It's where you can keep track of their progress. All right, so back to Fantasy Grounds. So you already see that I've added that to the campaign. So once you've done that, you hit this refresh. And what will happen is Fantasy Grounds will rescan that folder. If I come into the campaign folder, there's the token that I made, which is this thing here, and it's smaller, so it's more scaled for the actual token. So I'm going to go ahead and create an NPC and add that. So I'm going to go back to Streamlabs and turn off the all the time camera here, that off. And we're back to Fantasy Grounds. So now what we're going to do is make an NPC for that. So this will be something that the party can use. You'd have to share it with the group. So I'm just going to make a generic NPC with that token and some attributes on it so that they can, see the area basically. Maybe I'll give it dark vision or something. Anyhow, so I'm going to take and first bring up the combat tracker because I want to be able to test it. That's how you do it. You have to test it on the combat tracker. If you don't, it's not going to show changes, or you're not going to understand what you actually did. So I want to go ahead and lock that, put that up there. Okay. So now what we're going to do is create an NPC, but before you make any new data types, you want to create a group. So I'm going to call this the Oracle of 3. So I'm editing the group name. It defaults as group 1, group 2. But the Oracle of 3, that's the name of the adventure. So there's the Oracle of 3. And then I want to import or use one of the tokens for the NPC. But I'm just going to make a generic one. So I'm going to create a new item. You can right click or you can hit the green plus button. what I normally do. What I want to do is put party token or something like that, so that I'll know what this is. So it's a NPC party token, basically. So it's an NPC, but it's for the group so that they can control it. So I'm going to put instructions on the back that tells how to do it. But basically, the party is going to be able to control where it moves on the map. I want to make sure that, and then for size, I want to put huge, I guess, for the size, so that when the token is on the map, it's pretty good size. And everything else I can just leave blank. I don't think I need too much more. I could put dark vision there, but I don't think that's in the cards, so I'm not going to worry about that. Okay, so let me go to the tokens in the assets library. And I'm in the tokens group. I'm going to go to campaign. I'm going to drag the compass rose over to the NPC sheet. That's going to be the token for that. And go ahead and close that, lock this, and now this is going to be an NPC that I will put on the combat tracker for the party. So go ahead and do that. So there's the token so that they can control it. Now, in order to allow everyone to see through the eyes of this token, and the only time I would really use it is when we're using the overland map. So when we were done, I would take it off the combat tracker. And I'm going to put these notes on how to use this on the back so that when someone's running it, hopefully they'll pay attention to that. And then I'll also put it in the story entry too. So this is basically where the party is going to have their sheet. And what I would do is link the party members to this so I have quick access to it when I do get party members. I'm going to make NPCs so that the game has some starting characters that are kind of themed for the game in case, so that if you want to play right away, you're not going to have to wait, and I'll code them and everything so they'll be ready to go for the adventure. But that is something that most people don't think about ahead of time, and it's something that you might want to consider if you're putting together a module. And make some NPCs. Most cases, people will make their own, but in this case, I want to see how it works out. All right, so back to images. I want to bring up that map, so it is called the Upriver Regional Map. So that's something I want to fix now. So I'm going to put map in front of it, comma, and then it says Upriver Regional Map. And I want to leave it that way so that, you know, when I'm using this, it's part of that. And then I'm going to actually link the map to the NPC token. Nothing wrong with that. So I'm going to take this and unlock it. And then I'm going to put the Upriver Regional Map for the title. And what this does is just makes more convenience. Upriver Regional Map. And then I'm going to link the map to the NPC token. And then I want to put a header on this, so Control-2. And that makes it convenient. So if you bring up that sheet and you need to, you know, adventure or take the party member somewhere on the map, it's right there. You're not digging around for it. And then vice versa, when the party members start the game, I'm going to have the NPC linked to the map. So this is the NPC token, or the actually NPC. So this is their token that they're going to use. So I'll put it there, and when I come to this map, or if I'm on the map, I can use this. I'm also going to right click on it and make this link shareable, so if this comes up, the players will be able to click on it. And then this part here is all blank, so let's see what it looks like on the map. So I'm going to take the link here or the token, put it on the map, and see what we get. So there's the token. It's pretty good sized. So yeah, I think I'm going to change the size of that. That's a little big. So maybe large. So delete this off the combat tracker. Take the link off because I don't want to mess this up. And go to NPCs. open up the NPC itself, and change the size to large. That should help size, the initial size. Now I'm going to put it back on the map and place the shortcut. I'm going to right click, the link shareable, open this up, put it on the party tracker, and now drop this token on there. See what that looks like. Yeah, it's a lot better. It's not as big in diameter. So that's the token. That's what they're going to use when they're playing. They're going to be on here. Yep. So I might just even make that medium. So keep playing around with it and make it right. So delete the token, delete the shortcut, delete the combat tracker entry. If you don't do that, you're potentially going to make it to where your links are broken. That's why I'm backtracking. So if you're ever creating content, you have to fix everything. You don't want to just fix one piece. So come up here, unlock it, go up to medium. It should take care of it. Wasn't sure how it was going to scale, so that's why I'm playing around with it. All right, so this is the party token. Party token goes on the main map where they start. It is going to go onto the combat tracker. So if I pop this up, drag and drop it on here, now bring this over to the map. This is where the starting location. Yeah, that's perfect. Right inside that hex. So when they move around, cool. In order for this to work, the players have to use the options for the DM actually, and then come down to where it says party vision has to be on. So party vision and movement must be enabled. So I'm going to put that as a note on the NPC. So I'm going to go to NPCs, delete this one off the combat tracker because change or add anything, you have to fix it. So I'm going to go back here. That's the party token. So I'm going to put some instructions on here. I'll relink the map. So the map is going to be here. I don't want to do that just yet. So put the upriver regional map. And this would be shared with. Bring the link over here. Out of that, Control 1. Now I'm going to put some instructions. So GM instructions. So place NPC to combat tracker. Go to options and enable the setting to, let's see, what was that again? So actually I'm gonna make this simpler. So I'm gonna actually take this options thing and link it here. Oops. Do that right. Take the options, link it right to this so that it's so convenient. So place NPC info, or place NPC into the combat tracker. So combat tracker is up here, so that right there. And then once you do that, place the NPC combat tracker. So can I link this to itself? Find out. Why, yes I can. How interesting. So that's it. This token is basically what this is. And I'll put this in the story entry too. So I'm going to have a lot of links back and forth. So now we're going to enable the setting to, or change, say, and change or enable the setting to, and it's in the it's in the token GM section. So token GM section. Party vision and movement. So when someone goes to use this, they'll be able to check this out. So it'll be easier to get to all the stuff right at your fingertips, basically. So I'm going to bold this because that's the instructions for it. Change this to set a bold. There we go. So that is instructions for this token. So if they turn on this party vision, the players can take control of this NPC. So now it's going to be on the combat tracker and put it on the map. Go. So that is basically how it's going to work. This, I want to right click and share this. Party members take control of it right away. That's their starting location. And then I'm going to right click, and if you were going to share this, you'd click on sharing and then share this record. And that would allow the players to access the map too. So there's two things that I've done to help expedite that, make it a little simpler. Now to take a look at one of the other maps. So I kind of just added some things on here to make the map a little bit more dynamic and useful. Not a whole lot of stuff, just a little bit. And then I could turn off this lighting stuff so you could actually see the map. So that's cool. All right, so that's good enough for now. So this is shared. So this is campaign specific, so I don't think I need to worry about this, but I can unshare it by clicking there. Now I'm going to take and make the line of sight for the first map, which is going to be the Kedwick Crossing. There's two of them. There's one for cloudy and one for clear. So I don't know if I'm even going to include both of those, but if I do, I'm just going to export the XML and just copy it. Okay, so this is the map. So I want to center it. So right click, hit view, zoom to fill, kind of back it off a little. All right, so the scale is just roughly going to be 30 feet or so, 30, 40 feet across. And this is a river is probably like about 50 or so. And there's an embankment here, or almost like a channel. And there's a couple dwellings around here from the town itself. So what to do is first put a grid on it. So let's see what 50 looks like. Pretty sure that's going to be too small. So we're going to go with 100. I believe that was the scale that we done. Yeah, so that looks right. Yep, exactly. So 100 is the scale that Mopsy made these maps, by the way. If you guys are interested. Mopsy's pretty good. He's fair with his prices, and he'll crank stuff out for you if you want. I've worked with him before, so it's helpful to have somebody that can just crank out maps. All right, so this is the scale of this. I think I'm going to change the color of the grid. I don't like that color, so I'm going to go with like a yellowish color and then turn it down so it's not so obnoxious. So that's the first thing you do is you're going to put this on here. Now I'm going to take and define the outdoor ambient lighting. So I want to go to ambient lighting, going to enable it, put a mask on it, and change so it only affects this map, not outside of the map. So there's the mask for it. There's Kedwick Crossing, the actual map itself. So those are locked. So not a lot of line of sight in here, but I'm going to put terrain on the railings and on some of these bushes, and maybe make the river a pit, and then put some line of sight on these buildings. And that's about all I need to do. So actually, I don't even have to put line of sight on them. I'm just going to put more terrain. So be pretty simple. So I'm going to go to the line of sight tool and go ahead and grab the terrain tool, rectangle tool. So I'm going to take care of the buildings first. So this is just a matter of taking this and dragging this around. And you don't want it right at the edge. So you just kind of leave a little bit of room for vision and such so you can see the edge. I'm going to do the same thing down here. So this is going to be fairly easy. That hard. It's that. Pretty simple. Same thing down here, except for this isn't really square, but so I'm going to go back to the line tool. Just click on here. Just pretend that tree's not even. Don't worry. I double click to end the line, and if you want to move the lines, you can. So I'm just going to click on this vertex and kind of drag it a little bit more. There we go. Now I'm going to do this on the bridge too. So he's pretty tall, and these are also going to form like a. And I'll leave them open. No reason to close them. So I'm going to go ahead and take this and just lightly trace around. So that's not going to be a big of a deal. Let's double click to get out of it. Move it on up. I don't know why I have that moving on up theme song in my head. And then 70s child. Okay, so that's that. Now I'm going to just take the bridge and grab this, just kind of go along the periphery. You don't have to have a dot on every square inch of it, so just one per square, I guess. Don't even really need that, to be honest. Try to minimize the amount of data points so that your map doesn't give your game or your hosting too much issues. You don't need a ton of data points if it's not necessary. Just kind of through here. Okay, so I just closed that. Now I'm going to move this edge over a little. It's too close to the edge. There we go. You don't need the line to be that close to the edge. Just move this out a little bit. That way you can see the detail of the wall. All right, and then these are like statues, so about that. I'm going to do the same thing down here. Go back to the line tool, start on the inside here, work my way up. Just kind of follow the contour of the wall somewhat. Doesn't have to be perfect. Wow, what the heck? Okay, worry about that. There we go. Coming down to this point. So this makes it just basically have a railing that's fairly tall. It's probably up to your waist. When you're using this and for line of sight, you can open it up so they can still see over. It's just more or less like a barrier. It's not really they can climb on top of it, basically. And then I'm going to do the trees. So that should just be the tops of the trees. You don't need to have to do the whole tree. And over here, same thing, just kind of grab the very tops. Nothing crazy or spectacular, just on the trees. I'm only just grabbing the very tops. It's not perfect, so it looks more like vegetation instead of a round pillar. These are going to be the same thing. Grab that, and then this, let's say, so this is basically the tree tops. So that's really all I have to do. Site. I could put some on these bushes here, but I don't know if they're tall enough. I'll go ahead and do this one though. That one might be tall enough, being how close it is to the river. Yeah, I'll just do the very tops of these. Not gonna hurry. I also do the fence post if you want, but it's necessary. Start getting into overkill here. Okay, so that's the line of sight basically. So let's take a look. I'm gonna make this a pit and put water in here, but I'm gonna do the water first, and then I'll make a pit tool on either side of the bridge. So let's go to effects and come down to the water tool. Put a layer, effects layer for the water. I'm gonna double click, call this water. And here's the water tool. Oops, it made its own layer, so let's delete that. Okay, so that is that. And you see the water's on the whole town, so we don't want that. It's kind of wavy. So I want to turn on the mask and only reveal where the water is going to be. So I'm just going to come over where this light blue stuff is. Highlight this area. So you can come down here and just kind of reveal it patches as you go, just so you can get started on it. And then you take your Alt key, kind of trace the contour of where you want the water to show up. So do that here. And just kind of come around where this actual area is. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Take and hold down the Alt key and just kind of trace around the periphery, and that will give us the illusion that there's some water here. Kind of movement. Okay, then for this, turn down the droplet size a little bit and the speed just a hair. Turn the intensity down because that's kind of what makes it look fake. Horizontal just a little bit, and then I'm going to blur it so that it kind of blends in. It's not going to be too crazy. So that's the water. Now where this dump gate is, where the water's probably rushing through around this edge, I'm going to use another effect. So this is water. So I'm going to add a new effect, and this is going to be the ocean effect. It's probably barely going to be noticeable, so it's almost not worth it. I put a mask on it, and then just around here, where this lighter kind of ruffled color is, to hold down the Alt key and trace around here. Just kind of give it the illusion that there's some distorted water in here, like it's coming out like foam or something. Same thing over here. So hold down the Alt key. It's kind of stuff around here. Kind of show that this area here is little bit rougher than. Okay, so it looks kind of goopy right now, but so I turned up the blur tool so it blends in better. And then I'm going to take and turn the distortion down. So that, turn the speed down. So all that does is kind of give this a kind of a more of a distortion on around the edge of this, so that kind of shows the water flowing through. That's basically all I'm going to do. Now the final thing is the pit. So the pit tool is if you fall in, you can't just jump out of the water. So I'm going to go back to the line of sight tool, go to pit experimental. I am going to toggle it so that it doesn't block movement, but it still captures the person that falls. So that way they can move their token out of there. And I don't have to do it for them. I'm lazy. So I'm going to go to the line tool and just kind of go down the contour of this river. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Just kind of give you an idea of what's water and what's like sand or rocks. That's kind of what this is doing right here, is kind of portraying this as a pit. It's really not a pit, it's just a waterway that you can fall into. So that's that. The other side, so this is in case they fall in or something like that. Doubt it's going to even come to that, but you never. You notice kind of sloppy, so this doesn't have to be perfect. There we go. So now we have that. We can test it out with our party token. So go to play mode, change this to enable for all the player stuff. Take this token, put it on the map. He doesn't have any party vision or token light. So if I go to lighting and go to token light, I can assign this torch and add light to that token. So that's what it would look like if it was nighttime. So go to play mode, move the token around, you can kind of see what the line of sight's doing. This is what it would look like for the players, basically. So what I'm going to do is enable or disable that for right now. And then if it's daytime, which is probably going to start it off as, so go to lighting, go to the ambient light, and it's already on. It's right now, it's looks like it's dark. So if I go to sunlight, that should reflect what it. Yep. Change that to sunlight. Try this. So dusk. Not changing it. Oh, because I have a mask on it, that's why. I see. Well, let's go back to lighting. Go here. Reveal area. I want to change that. Turn this off temporarily. It's a line of sight. It's a lighting tool. Back to the ambient. Delete the mask. That's why I did that. Okay, so now if I come in here and I change this, it'll change to dusk or whatever you want. Dawn, sunlight. Turn that on or off as needed. Now I can change the direction of the shadows too. Just leave it. So I'm in play mode. So this is the PC mode, basically. So that's the overview, PC mode. They fall in here. They can still move out, but it's still showing that they're trapped inside the water, basically. Yeah. So that's one map to go. So what I might do is, if you're going to repeat the process on a different map, you can actually take you can select this here, this map itself, and trace all the walls, and then you also have the line of sight layer. So if you right click on it, you can actually export the metadata for it, and you can use this again in another instance of the same map. So you have a lot of the work done already, so you don't have to repeat. So I'm saving the exported file for this layer, and then I could go into the other map, which is the same dimensions basically, and plug that in and allow it to exist with this image. That way I don't have to recreate all that stuff. So just some of it, the lighting and such, but not so much the line of sight. All right, so I'm going to lock the ocean effect. I'm going to put a folder. I'm going to call this water, just so I have a, actually I'm going to call this river. And then I'm going to put the ocean effect and the water effect. I want the water effect on top of the ocean effect. Oh, actually, no, I want the ocean on top of the water. There we go. This is line of sight, I believe, this layer here. So I want to label that in case so I don't delete that. So that's the line of sight layer. So you might want to export this if you're going to save this. So if let's see, unlock, right click. Yeah, so this isn't going to let me export because it's not an actual layer, but this Kedwick Crossing, you can export the metadata for that. That's going to take care of your walls and such. So that's that. So we got the river, line of sight, the actual map, and then some of the layers on here. So it kind of organizes it a little bit. There we go. So, yep. So there's Kedwick Crossing. So I want to change that to map, comma, not period, but comma, Kedwick Crossing. And it's clear. So this is what this is. Instead of saying clear, I'm going to say daylight or daytime or something like that. Because there is another map that's more gray. So I might make a cloudy version where there's clouds going over or something, and the overall picture kind of looks gray. So I might do that just in case I want a different ambience or ambiance. So that's basically it. So that's how you test it, is use a party token kind of thing. And it already has like line of sight on it or something like that. So it's kind of got an idea of what it's going to look like during gameplay. So cool. All right. So I think that's all I'm going to do for today, but this is what I'm working on, is the Oracle of 3. It is basically a levels 3 to 5 adventure. It features 3 main characters here, or 3 main groups. You have the spider folk, the ant folk, and the wasp folk, or the bee folk. And then there's 3 main female characters that are prominent. So the town doesn't even really count, but the town is kind of a faction, and then you have the party faction. And then there's also a druidess who's not alive anymore, but her name is Ravenna Scree. She's the kind of part of the lore, but she was the one that brokered the peace and the truce between the Wildwood denizens and the humans and the dwarves. So she kind of kept everything balanced, but when she passed away, the balance kind of got out of whack. So that's basically the premise of the adventure, is that adventurers have to investigate what's going on. Some missing people, there's some fighting going on, and so that you get involved with the politics of this town and also the some of the lore and sort of thing. So anyway, so this is the Oracle of 3. So that's what I'm working on right now. And the reason I named these this, so you have map, NPC, handouts. So that way when you're playing this, you can kind of look and see what you got going on. So this is another one of the maps that Mopsy made. And I'll be doing the line of sight on these too, but throughout the months. I'm going to take and start building all this stuff out, and then I'm going to start putting the lore and all the story entries in and everything else. So I'll try to stream this once in a while so you guys can get an idea of what the process is like. But that's basically all I got today. Sorry if that wasn't very valuable to you, but it kind of gives you an idea of the process to go through to create your own content. So you take care, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll see you around.